Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Davidson. Here. Vice Chair Lamone.
Here. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Davidson will lead us.
Please place your hand over your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Thank you. Okay, next we have our consent items. We do have minutes from the April 2nd meeting. However, we will have to continue those to the next meeting, so we don't have any items. And next we have our public comments. This is a time for members of the public to speak on a matter to the Planning Commission, that any matter that is not on today's agenda. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll now move into our next item, which is a discussion item B on a zoning ordinance text amendment for pet cemetery use in the PO zone. Will staff be presenting a report?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today we're going to be discussing a non-city initiated zoning ordinance amendment, or a ZOA, to allow a pet cemetery use in our professional office zone. To give you a little bit of background here, what used to be the Griffin Mortuary and Family Home have recently been purchased by Ivy Lawn Memorial Park and Funeral Home. Now the property, shown here in this slide, is zoned professional office, and since no cemeteries are permitted in the professional office zone, the applicant has submitted an application for a zoning ordinance amendment. Now, although the request was made by Ivy Lawn, the ZOA would affect the entirety of the PO zone. This is very critical. Shown above here in yellow is the 3.169 acre lot that Ivy Lawn currently own. Now, zooming out a little bit, the surrounding area is currently developed with a variety of uses. These are professional office buildings. If you see the pointer around here, these are all professional office. To the southeast is the Wood Ranch Barbecue, which is located over here. And beyond that, we have the Paseo Camarillo Shopping Center, which contains a vacant movie theater and a mix of restaurants and other commercial uses. It is located here. Now, slide over here, it shows you the geographical distribution of all of the professional office zones across Camarillo. These areas are marked in blue on this map, and all of the blue areas signify the PO, the property zone PO. So a ZOA would affect all of these locations, and just to show you a few, this is the Camarillo Business Center, Business Park, which is where Ivy Lawn is currently located. Over here we have the PO zone around the hospital. Here is one near the high school. One over here is Camp Springs. So in looking at this proposal, staff reviewed the consistency of it against the general plan, the Camarillo Municipal Code, and the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Now, the general plan designates the PO zone as for either public or office uses, which broadly speaking include uses such as churches, schools, medical, utility, and other administrative uses. The use being proposed here would be incompatible with these and inconsistent with the general plan designation. In terms of our municipal code, the CMC dictates that the PO zone was created with the intention of providing professional, clerical, and administrative spaces to meet the modern standards and needs of our professional community. The use being considered here today is not consistent with that intent. Now, the EDSP, or the Economic Development Strategic Plan, considers high-quality office developments as one of their strategic group action items and recommends that the creation of new office and business parks should be prioritized. A cemetery would not create that desired environment. Additionally, cemetery uses are subject to applicable laws and regulations, compliance with which can retain some potential to curtail any future development on site. Now, staff did present this to the Economic Development Land Use Committee on August 24th and again on October 26th. The committee expressed similar concerns regarding the appropriate zoning and compatibility of the proposed ZOA. Now, staff did look into other pet cemeteries in California. In researching the proposal, we analyzed the zoning and the surrounding uses of other pet cemeteries in our state. Staff identified 13 such facilities. All but one are located in fringe areas surrounded by low-density residential, industrial, linkage, open space, or other cemetery uses. Shown above are two typical examples of the 13 reviewed. So on the left is a location in San Diego. It is zoned industrial, and you can see here, the red dot here is the facility. It is located in between a freeway and a railway track. To the right is a facility in Fresno. Again, this is zoned industrial, and it's surrounded by some vacant land, also zoned industrial, other industrial uses, as well as other cemetery uses. Now, in conclusion, based on staff's analysis, the recommendation is to find that the proposed ZOA, amending Chapter 19.22 of the Camarillo Municipal Code, does not meet the intent of the general plan, the Camarillo Municipal Code, or the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Therefore, the recommended action here is a denial to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners?
I don't claim to understand graveyard law, for lack of a better term, but can you talk about these implications that I know state law requires there's trusts and things like that? What kind of long-term implications, 25 years from now, if somebody wanted to put up an office complex, could they? Those are, you see what?
Yes, it does depend. There's a section of government code that talks about whether there is interment on site to begin with or not. So of course, if there's no interments, it's a lot easier. If there has been interments, there's a specific process through which a developer would have to go to release the site from a cemetery use onto a use that is something else. Now, that, I believe, applies if the operator takes certain steps to begin with to register it as a cemetery.
And have we confirmed I'm so bad at that. Have we confirmed that an animal cemetery is covered by these state statutes? We are talking to, and I'm in no way, my dear dog is 12. Mm-hmm. Does the law treat a pet cemetery and human remains similarly? I mean, do we know we're talking the same requirements?
Yes. And again, I'm not an expert, and I don't work for the CFB, which I found out is the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau in researching this. There's a clear separation between burials of human beings and burials of animals. So at this moment in time, co-burials are not allowed. This specific provision relates to a pet interments.
Thank you.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yeah, my only question, this might be for the applicant, but just wondering about the current use of the property. Is the mortuary in business, and is any business being conducted in the residence behind it?
Sure. The mortuary is in business. It's operating currently. The historic home to the rear of the property has always been a family home, and as such, for now, the only use applicable there is a residence. However, it is located in the professional office zone, so all of the uses that are allowed in the PO zone could conceivably be engaged in.
Thank you. And the house that's designated historical, is that a structure that would not be allowed to be removed for any future use, any future development of the parcel?
Any future development would require environmental review, for which staff would conclude an analysis, likely with the help of a consultant, which would include a historical architect to review the home and any proposal that might or might not relate to it or its setting.
Be determined at that time, okay.
That's correct, yes.
All right, thank you.
Just to clarify, the zoning amendment would be for the entire zone, not just for this particular parcel, correct?
That is the critical piece of information, yes. So if we scroll through this back, every area in blue here is a professional office zone. So although we're discussing this in the context of the applicant wanting to engage in that specific use on that specific property, all of these areas could conceivably, although the likelihood is, different depending on the specifics of each of these properties, could conceivably be turned into a pet cemetery. We did look at some of the lots, like for example, one here and one over here. So this is the high school, this is Poncho Road. Those are PO, but they're vacant. So the likelihood of a use like that is probably higher on a vacant lot like that rather than a developer redeveloping an existing office development into a pet cemetery.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, thank you. We'll now open it to the public hearing. And I understand the applicant is here. Okay, so you have 10 minutes for your presentation. If you could please state your name.
Okay. My name is Jeannie Clark, and I am the general manager at Ivy Lawn Memorial Park in Ventura. I just want you to know a little bit about what that means. That cemetery is a non-for-profit cemetery incorporated in 1915. And when you look at the bylaws, it says the founding fathers put that cemetery in the middle of nowhere. If any of you know where we're located, we're on Valentine Road, right off the 101, not in the middle of nowhere. But that was the intention, because nobody wants a cemetery in their neighborhood. No one wants to talk to us. No one wants to face the reality that it's a service that everyone is gonna need. Everybody does need us. We do step up to the plate. We're experts at it. We're also a historic cemetery. That designation isn't easy to get. We're the only one in Ventura County. We know the value of historic preservation. If you have any questions about graveyard law, I'm here to answer those. And then I have so many things I want to tell you. And my nature is to try and convince you to see my side, because I have so many ideas and I have so much information that created this application. But I decided I'd just go off the cuff and just be myself and tell you that I would love to convince you to feel the same way I do about this project. But the reality is, I've just got to give you the information and let you get there on your own. Number one, it's perspective. If you want consistency, this is not the property. We were there before all of you, before all the offices. All your zoning didn't exist in 1939 when Daley built that house. And the mortuary has been a mortuary for 7 decades. And that's why we bought it. We brought that mortuary back to life. That's what we do. Even though we're in the death care business, we bring life. We bring people solutions to what they need at a time when no one wants to talk about it. So that's really what created all of this. For 14 years, I've listened to people cry and grief and need. And the one thing we cannot give them is any comfort for their pets. And I love animals, sometimes more than people. And we treat pets like we do humans. They have 4 legs and fur, but they're still family. And they're loved. And they grieve. And there's nothing where they can go. There's nowhere to go. So, being the person I am, I say to the board of directors, we need a pet cemetery. People need a pet cemetery. And so we search and we search and we look and we look and we found this property. So we have a mortuary, it's perfect marriage for us. The Daly House, historic, so are we, perfect. And in the middle is 1.1 acres of land. And that's what we want to do with the pet cemetery, is create that land, landlocked by the mortuary on one side and the historic house on the other. Do you get that picture? Okay. It's landlocked. The mortuary's in the front, Daly in the house. What are we gonna do in the middle? We've got a beautiful piece of land, a great escape for people, not seen by anybody. We have a parking lot on one side, and we have a barbecue restaurant on the other. What would we do? Would we be inconsistent? I hate that word. Okay. The Cemetery and Funeral Bureau, they have no jurisdiction on pets. There's no law, there's no rule on pets. We're gonna establish it, we're gonna create it. And you need that. You need us to do that. That's what we do, and we do it well. I wrote a note here. Pets, humans, same to us. We love them all. I think that's enough. I'm looking at my own notes and I don't like what I said. Do you have questions?
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have plenty of comments. I'll reserve those. My question is, have you explored with staff other options that include some form of ability to have memorial things for our pets, yet the burial doesn't take place? In other words, it's a beautiful park that people can contribute towards in those hard times, and have a place to go and visit and to remember and to
Yes.
and to mourn, but without crossing that threshold to having the pet there. And I don't. I'm just asking if you've explored other options. That's just what occurs in my heart as I hear you talk, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're referring to above-the-ground burials.
No, don't bury anything. Don't go across that threshold.
Well, we call it burials, but when an animal is cremated, their remains get placed into a container of some kind, a unit, and that's an above-the-ground burial. Even though it isn't a physical burial, we still call it that.
Oh, I see. I was just thinking a park where people could go and maybe
Yes.
there's a paver the paver has etchings on it for their park, but their pet's not there. Their pet's maybe in a sacred place at home.
Yes, there's all sorts of options that you would offer the public, because you have so many needs to fill, because everybody's got their own idea on how to memorialize someone they love.
Certainly, I'm not viewing it as an option. I'm viewing it as the only alternative. Is you're not going to leave your pet here, but if you contribute to this, because I understand that there's also a business side that we have to be able to pay for these things. But if they contribute, they can go to a place that's been set aside for this thing, but you can't bury your pet here. That relieves, and I don't know if that's even acceptable to the city, so I'm not
Yeah,
policy
no,
making
I follow.
from the dais. I'm simply asking if you've explored other options with staff, and my mouth is getting ahead of me, so I'll stop.
Yeah, no, I follow. No, because the staff is very cookie cutter. It either fits in the box or it doesn't. It's inconsistent, you're out. It doesn't harmonize with the area, you're out. Denial, you're out. We don't even get a chance to speak. There's been no ideas exchanged at all.
Commissioner Murphy?
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, any other members of the public who would like to speak? Okay, then we will close the public hearing. Any comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, for me, this was a tough one to read through. I think it's an innovative idea. Seems like a good use for the property. It just doesn't, from staff's research, it's not in the right place. in town. It's not compatible with the zoning ordinance, general plan, the economic development. And I just wish it was in one of those fringe areas closer to you know, the edge of town, or in an area that's not clearly surrounded by professional office use. So
Can I address that?
The public hearing is closed.
and so I would have to support the staff's recommendation to deny the project, and I don't feel great about that. But it is our responsibility as planning commissioners to review this very stuff to see if it's in conformance with the regulations that are set forth by the city. And in this case, it appears as though this does not meet the criteria.
I very much appreciate your presentation and your words, and you are very persuasive. And as a pet owner as well, and one very special pet that I had for 19 years, I wish I would have had a place to bury my cat. And so I understand the need and appreciate your efforts. Unfortunately, I also agree that the staff has been very diligent in their research and analysis, and agree with the reasons laid out, including the impact to future development. So I also, with a heavy heart, will support the staff's recommendation.
I never want to be on the wrong side of an argument with you, first of all. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your passion. I'm retired law enforcement. I'm reverently aware of the role that Ivy Lawn has played in several tragic events in our county's history. So my first and foremost is to, from a personal standpoint, to say thank you. You've filled a role well beyond what you could ever imagine. So understand that there's that. Yeah, I think the statements that have been made, and I think I'll just reserve my vote for what it is and move from there. But I do thank you for decades of commitment to this community.
Okay, there is a resolution recommending denial. Are we ready to call for resolution?
Okay, resolution number PC 2024-6, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Camarillo recommending denial to the City Council of a request of a zoning ordinance text amendment from Ivy Lawn Memorial Park for the amendment to Chapter 19.22 of the Camarillo Municipal Code to allow for a pet cemetery use in the professional office zone.
Is there a motion?
I move to have no further reading and vote to adopt the staff recommendation for denial.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And should we call for a vote?
Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Limon?
Yes. Okay. And the motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are moving on to the director's report.
Brief report this evening. Wanted to report back on an item that this commission recommended to council. The Airport North Specific Plan Amendment this body recommended was approved by council last Wednesday by 5-0 vote. And just on upcoming planning commission items, we have 2 items tracking for the May 14th meeting.
Great.
May 14th.
Oh, 14th. Okay, I heard 4th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And any commissioner comments?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, great.